Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unbiased America Live, the greatest show that nobody ever watches and so few have ever heard of. We're here with Kevin Ryan and Matt Palumbo, who is casually eating, showing how concerned he is about the show itself here while he's having his dinner. Um, it's always a lovely scene to watch. There we go.
I didn't eat tonight. What are you eating, Maddie?
Rice, chicken, and broccoli.
Actually, right now it's showing we have 0 viewers, so there's 0 reasons to take the show seriously.
All right.
Well, we didn't announce it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the first order of business here is we did cover a lot last week, which was a really good show. We did talk about guns, and if you want to watch that, I don't think we need to go over that again. It's been hashed out all week. I think like the new debate now is with the due process, the violation of due process rights for guns. The 4 amendments and the 4 proposals in the Senate had failed. I think it was Feinstein, Cornyn. And I forgot the two other idiots that had
Murphy.
proposals in there. Murphy, yeah, and then there was another nincompoop.
Uh,
But anyway, they all failed, and now what we have is right now is a sit-in in Congress. We have Democratic congressional members that are sitting in Congress in the hopes of violating people's due process rights by virtue of a list. So if you get put on a list, a no-fly list or a terrorist watch list, if you're merely suspected of a crime, specifically what the founders sought to avoid with the due process clause. If you're just merely suspected of a crime, you can lose your gun rights. Kevin, have you seen, I mean, this is being hashed out not just between Democrats, amongst Democrats, but between Democrats and Republicans. I've had this debate with Republicans too that think, oh yeah, this is kind of a good idea, and it looked like Rand Paul today was hedging on that a little bit by saying, hey,
yeah,
look,
I
we should
saw
have
that.
but I mean, to explain what Rand Paul is saying, he's saying that if someone's on the terrorist watch list, it should be 5 years before they're off, and it should be red flagged if they get a weapon or if they purchase a weapon. It should be red flagged and then investigated after the fact. That if their due process rights are going to be repealed, it has to go in front of a judge why they shouldn't be able to have a gun, which is a reasonable policy. I don't agree with it, but it's more reasonable than the others. But what do you think about all this, Kevin?
Well, from a political standpoint, I think the Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot once again right before election. They've tried to play this many times, going back to '94, and it's hurt them every time they brought it up. I just don't think they fully realize how many of their own base, how many Democrats out there are, wielding firearms and take this thing very, very personally. And people view this as the first step towards something bigger. And that's what it could be. And that's what makes me scared about the list idea. Because suddenly the government is in charge of whoever gets guns and who doesn't get guns. I mean, it's already that way in a lot of states and a lot of municipalities. But now they can have this list and throw anybody on it that they want. And when they do that, that person no longer has their Second Amendment rights. I mean, right there, that's a violation of the Constitution. So they're going to have to come up with due process. But the funny thing is that the Democrats are saying that due process is the sticking point, and it's killing them. I forget who it said. It might have been Chris Murphy who said due process is killing us.
How awful.
Yeah, I know. That's horrible.
I'm
to have
sorry.
to actually give somebody their day in court. Yeah.
Oh no, their power is restricted. You see, Kevin, you can't have any restrictions on your power. They're the all-knowing and benevolent government, and they're just trying to protect us. This stupid Constitution gets in the way. You see?
What was it? Judge Napolitano said this week that once the government starts being able to hand out, gun permits, it's no longer a right, and it becomes a privilege. The Second Amendment was meant to be a right, and if the government can put people on a list at will, it's no longer a right. It's a privilege handed out by the government. So a lot of people are going to be afraid of this idea. But on the other hand, it seems to make sense to the layperson who doesn't sit there and think this stuff through like you and I do, that, hey, terrorists shouldn't have guns. That's pretty simple, right? But you don't think through the unseen problems that are going to crop up in the future from this.
Well, let's talk about this, Matt. Was this guy on a terrorist watch list?
No.
It's Orlando. Okay, were the Tsarnaev brothers on a terrorist watch list? Was the San Bernardino?
I mean, none of the 4 gun control policies that were proposed would have prevented any recent
Not
mass
a
shooting. It's just
not a single
it's
one.
just virtual. Yeah, and by the way, like assault weapons are killing like 200 people a year, and that's what they're going after. If they actually cared about gun violence, they'd be going after handguns, which are killing 60,000 a year. Obviously, they're never going to do that because most Americans don't want to ban handguns. They want to ban assault weapons because they think they're more dangerous, even though they're not.
And like we talked about last week, it's just the scary look of of a rifle. I mean, it's literally an AR-15 is no more than a
Yeah,
rifle. It is just a semi-automatic rifle.
yeah.
It bears little resemblance.
Mechanically, they're the same.
Yeah, it's virtually the same thing, even a lower caliber than a semi-automatic handgun that could probably carry the same amount of rounds in a magazine. So this is all platitudes and nonsense, and you have these half-wits sitting in, as if this is a sit-in, like it's some kind of a civil rights issue that.
It's like they're college kids. It's retarded.
I mean, this is really truly fascinating to watch that these people are sitting in Congress in a building the Constitution created, an entity the Constitution created to violate the very document that governs them. I don't know if I just don't see what. I mean, Kevin, do you think this is just the politics of doing something that after a tragedy these people need to be perceived as taking public safety seriously and doing anything is good enough, and whether these things actually do something or create more problems or violate rights just doesn't matter?
Well, I think if you look at the actual people taking part in the sit-in, it sort of answers the question. It's all the people in very blue districts. The Connecticut people are there. I noticed my own senator and my Congress people are there. Obviously, we're the home of Sandy Hook, and we are amongst the bluest states out there. So yeah, I think you're going to find that the people that are in the purple states aren't on the floor right now, but the people that are from the bluest states are there. This is political, and this is satisfying their base, and it's also firing up their base for the coming election season. So I think that's exactly what they're doing.
What do you like? And let me ask you this too, Kevin. Do you think they're actually just devoid of devoid of actual constitutional knowledge as to what due process is? Because as trustees of the people, their objective is to uphold the Constitution, not violate it. And specifically against temporary, emotional whims like this, is to say, look, we have due process rights. We cannot do that. That is something that we can't do. My job's to uphold the Constitution. The people of Connecticut, are the sovereign entities above the Constitution. If you want to change it, you must change the Constitution. I can't. That's not my job to go in there and do this. Do you think anyone cares? Do you think anyone even knows? That's the actual process. What's happened to the republic? It's really become a consolidated democracy.
I think the Constitution has basically become something that is blocking them from a lot of their goals, and it's not just on firearms. It's on a lot of things. I remember Nancy Pelosi's famous statement when somebody asked her if she thought such and such part of Obamacare violated the Constitution, and she was just like, "Are you kidding me? What?
Yeah.
The Constitution?" I mean, this is how they feel about these things. The Constitution has become a stumbling block, just like they said. The Fifth Amendment is killing them right now. They due process is killing them. They need a way around these things, and I think that what they've decided is to tell it to the public, fire up their base, and then hopefully get the right judges on the Supreme Court that'll come up with some rulings that'll essentially bring us back to the days of muskets.
Maddie, we have 50 states with 50 different gun laws, some stricter than others, some looser than others. Like, let's take, for example, Father's Day weekend in Chicago. The city itself has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. 12 were killed, I think 43 wounded. If you look at a month period, far more people in Chicago are killed than they were in the Orlando shooting. Furthermore, why do we look to the federal government to solve these problems that has no business doing this? Let the people decide. If Florida wants to say, hey, look, if you're on a terrorist watch list, we're not going to sell you a weapon, the people can flock to Florida if they feel safer there. Why does it have to be a one-size-fits-all approach from the federal government? And what have they ever done that has protected anyone from anything?
Clearly, Congress is a big enough terrorist watch list.
I mean, is it?
I mean, yeah, I agree. It should be done at state by state level. I mean, we see the states
have done.
Yeah, the restrictive laws have done nothing. Like the Brady campaign does a report every year, ranking states by like how strict the gun laws are. So if the state has an A, it has very strict gun control. If a state has an F, it means they have almost no gun control. If Vermont gets an F, but New Jersey would get a B or an A. And there's someone on the Washington Post who did a regression, and there's no correlation at all between how violent a state is and what the ranking is trick. In fact, it showed that the states that actually ranked worse than Brady's metric were some of the most peaceful. So,
do you see this as a domestic gun violence issue? This is that, I mean, domestic not meaning in somebody's home, but I mean domestic country-wise, just gun violence. I mean, this is what the media, this is what the left has tried to spill it as, and then, you know, it's not an Islamic terror attack. You can't bring that up. You see, it's a problem with American culture, American gun culture. And it's a homophobic act. I mean, look, you're not even getting news reports, Kevin, of this guy that he was himself gay, that he had frequented that he had not frequented, but had been to this nightclub several other times, that he scouted out Disney World, that there were other possible targets, that perhaps he was just knew this location, was intimate with it. You don't hear that. It's just, oh, he's homophobic. This was an attack on the lesbian and gay community, or whatever they say. Go ahead.
You know what? He was homophobic because of his religion.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's part of it, but also what we're not talking about is the immigration issue. I mean, we admitted an Afghani radical who imported this culture, imported the culture of radical Islam here, who radicalized his son. None of that's being talked about, Kevin. I mean, isn't this a you know, a petri dish, a scientific study of how the media controls the narrative and controls the debate, and that we have a sit-in to violate due process rights when we're not talking about the real actual issues here?
Yes.
I mean, right? Like, how are we not talking about the immigration problem of the importation of radical Islam?
Well, the media drives the narrative, and they always have, and every field of our news these days, it's the media that drives it. They decide what the narrative is, and, you know, aside from Fox News and some websites, it's largely run by the liberal media. And if you actually look,
Fox News and UnbiasedAmerica.com, you mean?
that's right.
That's true, right, Matty? Very good.
And actually, it goes right down party lines. There was I think it was a Pew or a Gallup poll that came out saying what do you feel was responsible for the nightclub shooting? Something like 80% of Republicans said radical Islam, whereas 60% of Democrats said freely
Yeah, I saw that.
guns. And you know, when you have such a deep divide, you basically what that says is you got one party viewing their news through one outlet and another party viewing their news through another outlet. So neither side is getting the full story. And, you know, we try to educate people on the full story, but it's hard to. You know, we're a small outlet.
Isn't this? Tell me if I'm wrong. If this is what happened, we imported radical Islam here legally. So this guy's son was born here in the United States, gives him automatic citizenship, right? His father was a legal resident. He goes and buys a gun legally under American law as an American citizen, but violates, you know, he violates that right to buy a weapon by murdering 50 people, but under Islamic terrorism, had nothing to do with the United States of America. So this guy comes here as a terrorist and dictates to us what rights we're allowed to have and what we're not allowed to have. That this wasn't just an attack on these poor 50 people or 49 people that had died and those poor people in the hospital, but an assault on our Constitution now. From you know, that the Congress is complicit, in fact, with this guy that came here and wants to take away our rights, not just our rights but our lives also. That how does this guy, a terrorist, tell us we have due process rights or the right to bear arms? He wasn't. I don't consider him an American, not at all.
Right, yeah, and I mean the argument you hear for the people saying it's guns. Well, I mean, look at France. They had extremely strict gun control. They had a very similar massacre back in November that 3 times as many people were killed. So you can't just blame the guns.
Do you think it would be different if it was an attack? If it was an attack on the whatever that acronym is on the gay community? Do you think it would be
the LGBT, UIA, P90X? Yeah. I don't think it would change at all. They'd find some other way, or they would just say Trump's fault because of the Crusades and KKK. So.
Right. Okay. I just it's just fascinating how that when Islamic radicals attack Islamists attack us, what does the president do? He lectures Americans. He attacks Americans for their rights. That is unbelievable. They must be giggling at us.
By the way, Obama or the governor of Florida requested $5 million in aid from the White House, and Obama denied it. So he's talking about gun control as if he cares about the victims, but I don't think he does at all. He's just using it to push a narrative.
Oh, of course. I mean, what was it, Rahm Emanuel that said never let a good crisis go to waste?
Yeah.
That's precisely what it is. And I see like even right-wing commentators, Kevin, that don't seem to be able to grasp the issue of due process. That the debate tends to go, the Constitution's not even in the debate. Like restrictions on government, they're not even there. I mean, a lot of people don't even mention it. Hey, look, I may not like due process. Someone might say, look, I think maybe we should do this, that we should restrict gun sales to people on the no-fly list or terrorist watch list, but we can't. The rule of law says that we cannot do it, even though I disagree with the rule of law. If you don't like it, change it. Like, we don't even get an admission like that, or even tacit admission that this is a problem from the left or the right.
No. The Constitution has been vilified by in a lot of circles as something that's only useful to the Tea Party and so forth. And
well, the left loves it when George Bush was in there. You see,
yeah.
It restricts the Republican, but it gives the Democrat carte blanche to do anything they want if you have a pen and a phone.
Well, and vice versa too. The Republicans play the same game. The Constitution is something that restricts government, and because of that, the government will always be at war with the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinating that and not enough people know about the Constitution. Like we talked about the media a minute ago, Matt. We were talking about how they create the narrative. Well, they do create the narratives, and then academia, it backs them up, and the academia says that narratives are truth, that there is no truth, that the subjective matters, and that these narratives are truth. That everything's just a social construct. You see, so storytelling is the way to win the political wars, the way to strip the social constructs to for the proletariat class to rise. I mean, this is literally it's a 1-2 punch. They control these institutions, and that's how they get away with it. And what do we have? What does the empirics have? What does the right have?
We got numbers, studies, statistics.
Right, but the thing is, that doesn't matter, you see. No one pays attention to that, Matt. That's like Kevin said before, we're trying, but it's hard because nobody really cares about the stats. You could show them stats all day long, their eyes glaze over, and Nancy Pelosi standing up sounding like a complete idiot resonates with them, or Donald Trump sounding like a moron and going to meet with the NRA. This is why Donald Trump's dangerous. The man has no clue what he's doing. Not a single clue.
10 hours of Donald Trump insults is playing behind me.
Really?
10 hours of Donald Trump insulting people, yes.
Is that on YouTube?
What?
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
But let's go to now. We have the CNN town hall of the Libertarian. Libertarian town hall on CNN tonight with Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. There's a lot of libertarians. I see them. Oh, we can win this thing. I mean, if you were a Las Vegas odds maker, Kevin, what would you give? What would be the odds Gary Johnson wins?
About -12% chance.
I would give, I'd give him the same odds that the USA had to beat Argentina yesterday, which I think 20,000 to 1.
Yeah, no, there's not much of a chance they're going to do much of anything. I think it's interesting that CNN is carrying this because in the past they really haven't paid any attention. It's been more the Fox News that has paid attention with some of its shows to libertarian issues. CNN hosting this is, well, if you're kind of the way I am, you're always looking for the angle, and
exactly.
Maybe they think it's in maybe they think it's in the best interest of the Democratic Party or liberals to have a libertarian alternative out there during this election season. Maybe they think it's going to siphon away votes more from Trump than from Hillary. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's true. But
I think that's part of it, but I think a lot of it too is that there's so many people disaffected with the Trump News Network over there at Fox News. And I think that they're saying, hey, look, we can get some ratings here if we get Gary Johnson on. There's a lot of people that are disaffected by Fox. I mean, I know a lot of conservatives that won't watch it, especially to listen to that half-wit blowhard Bill O'Reilly talk and that other one, Sean Hannity, who has never been of any substance. So nobody wants to listen to him.
CNN took a serious turn towards Hillary. As soon as
Oh yeah.
As soon as Trump got the nomination, CNN went all in for Hillary and just has been pounding Trump. Every single headline has been anti-Trump.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we knew that was coming. I mean, I think the only good news network out there is Unbiased America. So I mean, that's not biased or
I
anything.
agree. And Fox News
That's not
actually has
biased.
some good shows on at like 3 a.m. So.
Yeah, your Red Eye appearance. How did that go? Did you make out with the gal on the end there? What's her name?
No, she rejected me, Will.
She did? Well, she doesn't know what she's missing.
No.
I do.
Her name's Joanne.
Oh yeah, Joanne.
She said
Yeah.
that.
I watched the show. The guy next to you kept cutting you off.
You
It was
need to
bothering
feed
me.
me some pickup lines.
What?
You need to feed me some pickup lines next time, and I'll.
Yeah, I will. I will. And then you had the guy from Ricochet, right?
Yeah, he was there, and then the guy, some gay actor was next to me who kept rubbing my back.
That's what I said, and interrupting the entire. Just kept talking, and I was like, "This guy's really adding nothing to the show right now."
There were like 1,000 big stuff. Like, who's that young guy getting molested by the gay guy?
Did you at one point say I'm too straight for this conversation?
Yes.
That was the line of the night.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
You're going on
I was like,
again.
so I'm like commenting on this conversation about gayness, and I'm like, I'm too straight for this. I don't know.
You're going on again, aren't you?
No,
Did they rebook you?
Yeah, I'm going on again to record July 14th, and I think it airs the 16th. But
Nice.
I mean, I'll confirm it. It's closer. Yeah, it was fun.
That's cool.
And I got to meet, actually got to meet Rich Lowry in the green room too, from National Review.
Who?
Oh yeah.
Rich Lowry, yeah.
Oh yeah.
What time do they film that
Yeah.
show?
I mean, no one's watching the show, so we don't get to talk about anything substantive anymore.
Could you flash
So
our
you got to A, not watch the show, and then B, the people who are watching it now are watching it through YouTube, and they probably only watch like the first 20 minutes and tune out. So.
Yeah, it's tough. You got to DVR it or you got to watch it on YouTube. Has your video come back out on YouTube yet?
I can't find it anywhere yet. I mean, if I can't find it, I'll just get it on my DVR somehow. But I don't know.
Yeah, upload that. I want to see
I
that.
don't know how to transfer my DVR to it.
God.
Do you know if there's any way to transfer my DVR?
You are the least technologically enabled millennial I have ever met in my life.
Well, I pay my servants to do it all for me, so I don't really need to know anything.
Touche.
Yes. All right, what's the topic now?
There's not really much else to talk about. There was not really anything else that went on this week other than the lingering gun issue.
Donald
Trump
had about the watch list. I was reading. It was actually a Huffington Post, surprisingly, that something like every year there's like 300,000 people added to the terrorist watch list, and the FBI only rejects about 1%. So that's a lot of people that are going to be not able to buy guns that are probably innocent.
Yeah, and they are not terrorists. I mean, what percentage of those people do you think are terrorists?
Yeah, if we had 300,000 terrorists in this country, we'd all probably be dead. So.
I think that it was 800,000, but a lot of them are foreigners. Too.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think it was 1% or something like that are actually American citizens.
I'm going to sound stupid by saying this. I don't actually know the answer. What is it? Can foreigners purchase firearms in the U.S.?
No, only American citizens or permanent legal residents.
Okay.
That makes sense.
But Donald Trump had a big speech today where he just hammered Hillary Clinton, but I think his speeches have really lost their luster. I don't know if anyone's really paying attention to them anymore.
It got a lot of press coverage, actually. CNN led with it, and until they, then they started talking about the sit-in, and so
this is what I wanted to talk about, Kevin, and I'll get to Matt. This guy has a serious fundraising gap with Clinton. I mean, he fired that nitwit Lewandowski, who was a political amateur and a fool. And now he has, I think, a $40 million gap with cash on hand. He doesn't have the infrastructure to raise money at this point. He's not really raising much money. You have this fervent following, but mostly kind of kooky following. I don't know. I don't see him catching up at fundraising, and I think that what do we got till November? He's not going to catch her in fundraising, and that's going to kill him in the long run. I just don't see him having much of a shot of winning anymore.
Well, the fundraising.
The guy's salary is $5 million.
What's that? I was going to say the fundraising thing was Trump's fault because at the beginning he said he's not going to take money from anybody.
Right.
And so now people are like, wait, Trump needs money? Fundraisers are out there right now that are not able to get money because everybody thinks, this he's already, bragged about $7 billion and how he's going to fund his own campaign, which, by the way, he could. Ross Perot funded his own campaign with his own money. I don't necessarily think.
Hold on, Matt. Let him finish.
I don't think Trump is gonna do that. He might have to though, because he already told the world that he's not gonna take their money.
What do you think, Matty?
I mean, right now, technically, something like 2/3 of his campaign is self-funded, but I believe it's in the form of a loan to himself, so it's a bit misleading. But I mean, Trump's annual salary is if he wanted to self-fund, he easily could. It would just be a few months pay.
Well, yeah, his annual income's $234 million. I don't see that being close to enough money to win this race, even if he took all his entire salary. And I don't think Donald Trump's very liquid either.
He's not liquid. Actually, $3 billion of his net worth is intangible assets, so his brand. So, like, who the fuck are you going to sell the Trump brand to for $3 billion?
I know. So he can't even. Yeah, so he can't even leverage that.
Yeah, and Hillary actually got Obama's fundraising list from his 2012 campaign today, and I think it was credited with bringing in like $500 million, so she has all that power as well.
Reince Priebus claimed that the RNC has the infrastructure to raise money, and that he was saying that the RNC itself can raise the money. Donald Trump doesn't need the vast network that Hillary Clinton has. He was making the case that Hillary Clinton has the network, but the DNC doesn't have the infrastructure or the means to raise the money like the RNC does. But I think who the hell trusts Reince Priebus when he says anything? I mean, I can't. That's another guy. Every word that comes out of his mouth, you can't. I mean, I don't even know why he's still the head of the Republican National Committee. He really shouldn't be there anymore. If this election season really was a telltale sign of that. But I don't know, Kevin. I just don't. I mean, I know the polls sway. I think Donald Trump can gain some ground, but I think ultimately in the end, with this fundraising problem, his missteps in the general election, I see him having a really hard time winning. I mean, I think, though, the only factor here that I'm not taking into account is that people are just really weary of Hillary Clinton. She's a liar. She's under FBI investigation. You can't trust a word she says. She has a failed record. So there's a lot Donald Trump can exploit. But what do you think?
I think one thing he didn't count on, which shows how bad his campaign team was, is the shift in coverage, because he got $1 billion plus. I forget, we did a post on it once.
Yes.
Something like $1.7 billion in free coverage from the media, and most of it was either positive or not decidedly negative. It was a lot of, this guy's saying things that people want to hear. You should pay attention and da-da-da. And so he got a lot of the same people that what's his name, Bernie Sanders got. And he built up his campaign using that free and mostly positive coverage. And I think now it has turned against him so violently that he's gonna be in the hole from the media coverage he gets by a couple $1 billion of negative coverage. So he's really, you might have a big point about the fundraising, because I think he was counting on the continued strong media coverage of him, and he's not going to get it.
Yeah, I agree. I think now the media is going to, and like you said, CNN going full tilt Hillary. I think you'll see Fox News, batten down the hatches here for Trump. But yeah, the media coverage isn't going to be like it has been in the primary, and I don't see that continuing. And I don't see him getting that much. I mean, he's going to get a ton of media coverage, but I don't see him getting. Hillary will get the media coverage and the like now that you have just two candidates. It's not going to be all Donald Trump, and then you don't even know that Bobby Jindal's in the race. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a little different like that. What do you think, Matt, with the fundraising gap? And then look, Donald Trump is not going to win conservatives in the general election. Chasing Bernie supporters, talking about the minimum wage, what he's doing on guns, he's lost them. And I don't see him winning any of them back. I see a Mitt Romney-esque approach here. I think he'll win more people in the middle than Mitt Romney did, But I mean, I just don't see without that conservative base. I think Ted Cruz was right, and his strategy is to get the conservative base out and worry about everyone later. And I just don't see Trump winning it.
Yeah, my grandma was complaining about Hillary the other day, and I asked her who she was going to vote for, and she really hates Trump, and she was like, I guess I'll vote for Trump and hope for the best. And my
Right.
theory is Trump and Hillary combined have 2,000 followers. Fuck it, I hate the other guy more. So I think it's all going to come down to that, because they're both net negative, unfavorable. So it's just whoever can be the least unfavorable by the end. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. I don't know. I think
Yeah,
Trump, I don't know. The thing about Trump is, yes, he could self-fund it, but I don't think he expected to get this far.
yeah, I know. Do you think that's a deficiency in the party primary process then in that case?
In what way do you mean?
How does a lifelong Democrat win never been a Republican, never involved in Republican politics, never really involved in politics, win a Republican Party primary? That man doesn't know even what the platform is. He has no idea what the Constitution says. He doesn't even know the presidential powers. How do you let a guy like this win? I mean, look, the party should have some control. And everyone says, oh, he had the most votes. He had the most votes in the history. Well, yeah, that's due to an increased population. Ronald Reagan got 62% of the vote when he won. This guy got 42. So give me a break.
Every front runner almost has the most. Yeah, there's a population.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bogus stat.
So it's crap. Yeah. So the same thing with the Democratic Party had a better system. Here was a guy that was only turned Democrat 2 years ago, was Bernie Sanders. He's a lifelong Marxist, and they didn't want him to win the nomination, and he didn't get it. And look, that's fine. You know what the party platform is. Either join it or don't.
So what's your solution? You think we should have like a superdelegate system like the Dems do?
Yeah, something like that. Sure. I mean, this isn't a democracy here. I don't think that Republican Party principles should be up for a Democratic debate either. I don't think that the party platform should be, oh no, we'll just change that because we have a populist mentality now. Let them form another party and get clobbered. I mean, either join the party or you don't. That's kind of where I stand on that.
I think what I've seen happening now is this. Okay, we've lost with Trump. Let's hope that we can get a good candidate in 4 years. And I think I see that out of Ryan and out of the leadership is basically they've waved the white flag. They're telling the delegates to vote their conscience. They're not rallying behind Trump at all. They know I think they believe it's a lost cause, and it's going to hurt their brand to actually shift towards Trump. And so they're just going to stay in their where they're comfortable and hope for 4 years from now to have a better candidate and hopefully a better system, because I think you're right. I think they need a superdelegate type system, which most people don't know, but up until I think the 70s, essentially the entire process was superdelegates, and
they reformed it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they reformed it, and it came back to bite them, and that's why the Democrats went to the superdelegate process, and I think that the Republicans are going to do something similar.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not that people shouldn't have any input. They most definitely should. But I think that's just too much input that you can have, essentially a progressive populist win the Republican Party nomination. And that's not to say that the Republican Party isn't necessarily somewhat a progressive party. I think it is. I think that this guy's running as he isn't one, but he's certainly, I'm anti-establishment, but he's exactly the establishment. He just tapped into an emotion. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, I think Trump's the first populist to have a butler.
Yeah, I know, right? Or a ton of towers to live in and speak from. But I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I don't really have many topics today. They're kind of few and far between. I know we have Robert Murphy on next week, and maybe we'll get into some Austrian versus Chicago school stuff, and some economic issues of the day. You know me about these Austrians and their methodology. So. We could do that. We could probably talk gold standard too. I know that's just a common topic with Austrians. They love the gold standard. I don't understand why. Ted Cruz talks about the gold standard all the time. It's just trading in one set of problems for another. I still don't get that.
Do we have any Austrians that come on this show? Like Grant's not really Austrian, is he?
No. No, we don't. I mean,
Josie, maybe? I don't know. Shows
You
how
know, the
much
thing,
you know.
it really represents a methodology, not conclusions. So Chicago school neoclassical economists and Austrians generally come to the similar conclusions. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of economic rigor, like, you know, the heterodox approach as opposed to the, you know, the more orthodox neoclassical approach. So, you know, it's just, I think it's kind of, in my opinion, a throwback to that Menger, the Jevons and Walras time there. What was it, around 1870 or the late 19th century methodology, and they just completely disregarded Alfred Marshall in 1890 and his principles of economics. Oh, we don't need calculus because this and that. And I don't think they've ever addressed Alfred Marshall's arguments. He never said that mathematics is economics.
Have you met Robert Murphy before?
I know I have not met him before. But we had Steve Horwitz on, who's an Austrian, and we kind of talked about the history of economic thought on that one show.
Yeah.
But we never really addressed Austrian versus Chicago school methodology directly. I think there were some questions about it.
Don't Murphy and Horvitz have a rebuttal page that rebuts Krugman every week?
Yeah, contra Krugman, but
Yeah.
it's Woods and Murphy.
Oh, Woods, that's right, Woods.
And it's really good. And I think actually Steve Horwitz has been on it before. I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah.
Steve Horwitz isn't very fond of me anymore. But that's all right. It's not that I've done anything personally to him. It's just that I've come to, you know, I'm more of a rule of law type of guy, and he's more of a whatever I feel like today kind of guy.
You've had some battles online.
Yeah, for that reason.
Yeah.
But it comes down to philosophical differences, which I think in politics, it's generally what it always is people. I'll be debating philosophy. People want to debate politics, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't really necessarily care so much for your political conclusions. You got to kind of get to the root of the cause. I think we try to do that at Unbiased America quite a bit. But you're doing Freedom Fest, right, Kevin?
I have to check in with you after the show about that. There's a chance I might not be able to.
I'm really July 13th.
Yeah.
So I really have to get there because it's good networking, but it costs $100, and then I got to get a plane ride, and I'm so poor. So
I loaned you $700 last week, and
yeah, right. I wish.
Hey, you're doing some new work now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm doing some new stuff. Moderating Gary.
You're really not interested in promoting it, are you?
No, not at all.
It's a male porn website.
Yeah, you don't want to know. Makes a ton of money, so much money that I don't have enough to go to Las Vegas, which is a 4-hour drive away.
Where they have rooms for like $40.
Yeah, where you can get a room at Hooters for about $13, and all you have to do is play the penny slots once every hour, and get a free Grey Goose and tonic. But I don't know. Let's do our winners and losers. This is a good week for winners and losers.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, the losers are the losers that are sitting in the halls of Congress right now that have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. They're going to sit in to try and violate in the effort in what I call the do something politics movement, where there's a public outcry to do something, whether or not that something works, actually addresses the problem, or is in fact lawful, is generally put on the back burner. So I see them as losers. Wholehearted losers and traitors to their own oaths, and they really should be. I would love to see them all impeached. Too radical, too bad. My winner is LeBron James. I mean, no one thought the Cavs could pull that out. They won 3 in a row in Golden State. He deserves credit where credit is due, even though I hate the guy. I think he's a big crybaby. But Golden State was still too young, still inexperienced, and good for him. Go ahead, Matty. You got one?
I was also going to have the same loser as you, the sit-in crybabies. I think it's the gayest thing to happen in American politics since the Obergefell decision. As for winners, you, buddy, for your new job, which is on you.
Yeah, great new job. Go ahead, Kevin.
All right. Well, the loser, I actually had 2 losers, and you kind of touched on both. Well, my loser is Golden State. I think they just blew that 3-1 lead, and to blow it like the way they did, and to come into the season with come in the playoffs with the best record ever in the history of the NBA for one season, and then to just choke there at the end so badly. I gotta put them as the losers. And the winner, I hate doing this, but is Hillary. I think Hillary's strategy is starting to play out, and it's starting to really be effective, and she's using, just like the Don used the media to leverage his coverage. She's using the media now to make sure that she gets good coverage, and that and that she gets the right thing on. She's basically become the Donald Trump of the general election season, and I think it's playing out pretty well for her. And suddenly she's way up, and the betting sites have her way up, and she's up in the polls, and I think she's almost looking unstoppable. Donald has to do something soon, or this is going to be a blowout election.
Okay, that's pretty good. But tune in next week. We'll have Robert Murphy on. We'll talk Chicago versus Austrian. It'll be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, all three of you. You've been really patient, and hopefully you will tell your friends and family. What's that? Probably just us.
Yes. You?
Yeah, pretty much.
Billy's watching it.
Oh, Billy's watching it, and now we have some random music playing. It's really been a wonderful show. Tune in, and all our shows are archived on YouTube. All you got to do is type in Unbiased America or Unbiased America Live. It will come up. It's on the Liberty.me channel. You can also visit unbiasedamerica.com. There's a ton of our old content on there. There's other articles that aren't featured on the Facebook page. Instagram, Unbiased America has an Instagram page. Please follow that, and we will see you next week. Thank you, and have a great night.